Okay, so let's say you're being asked to solve an equation, 3x minus 2 equals to 7, and they want the x by itself. How are we supposed to do that? Hey everyone, my name is Caden, and I'm going to be showing you how to solve one variable equations in the easiest way possible, hands down. Before we get started, feel free to hit the like button and the subscribe button, as it'll help spread the good word to others. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so now we're here with this problem, 3x minus 2 equals to 7. So the first rule, right, is you must isolate. This means that you must move x to one side and all of the other terms to the other side, alright? So watch how I do it. So I have 3x minus 2 equals to 7. So I'm going to do the opposite operation, right? Because the opposite operation always cancels it out. So I have minus 2 here, right? So what's the opposite of that? The opposite of that would be adding 2, right? So then that would give me 0. So it just cancels out. But whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other. Math is kind of like a seesaw, like solving these equations like a seesaw. You must balance both equations to make sure that they're equal, right? So if I added 2 to the left side, I have to add 2 to the right side. So I'm going to add 2 to the right side. Basically, now 7 plus 2 is 9, right? Now I'm just simplifying. Negative 2 plus 2, that's 0. And adding 0 does nothing. So I'm going to move the 3x down. So I get 3x is equal to 9. Okay, now what do? We must remember that whenever we have a number, right, that's called a coefficient, and a variable, and there's no addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division symbol, we must assume that they are always multiplied, right? So that means 3 times x is equal to 9, right? So now, you remember what I said about opposite operations. So what do we do? What's the opposite of multiplying by 3? We want to get x by itself. Pause this video and see if you can answer this. Alright, if you said dividing by 3, you would be correct, because 3 over 3 is 1, right? So 3 over 3 is 1. And then the 3's would cancel out, and you're just left with the x, right? But remember what I said, whatever you do to the left side, you must always do to the right side. So if I divided by 3 on the left side, I must divide 3 on the right side. So 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. Alright, now let's take a look at example 2. We have 2x plus 7 equals to 15. Alright, why don't you go ahead and pause this video and try to solve this for yourself. Alright, so let's get to it. First of all, what do? We isolate, right? So we're going to move this 7, right? We're going to take it out of the left side. We don't want it there. We want to get the x by itself, right? So how are we going to do that? We are going to do the opposite operation of adding 7. So the opposite of that is going to be subtracting 7. So why don't I go ahead and do that? So subtract 7, right? So positive 7 and negative 7, they cancel each other out. But remember, whatever I do to one side, I must also do to the other. So if I minus 7 on the left side, I must also do it to the right side. So I'm going to subtract 7 from the right side as well. So now all I'm going to do is simplify. So now 2x just gets brought down. Positive 7 and negative 7 again get canceled. 15 minus 7 is equal to 8. Alright. So now 2x, right, is the same as 2 times x, right? This is basically this right here. Alright. And then I just bring down the 8. So now what's the opposite of multiplying by 2? Well, the answer would be dividing by 2. Dividing by 2 allows me to cancel out these 2's, right? And then it gives me the x by itself, right? But, so I can bring the x down here first. But remember, whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. So if I divided by 2 on the left side, I must also divide by 2 on the right side. Okay? So 8 divided by 2 gives me 4, and that is my answer. Alright, now it's going to get a little bit harder. We have an x, a variable, on both sides of the equations. Now, how are we going to do it? Well, the process is very, very, very similar, but just with a little twist, okay? So, first, I'm going to get all the x on one side and all the other numbers on the other side, alright? So if I have positive 3x over here, right? What's the opposite operation of adding 3x or positive 3x? That would be subtracting 3x, right? So subtracting 3x. Basically, I just want to get rid of the 3x on the left side. I'm going to move it to the right. So whatever I do on the left, I must do it on the right. So I'm going to subtract 3x from the right as well, okay? Now, I'm just going to simplify. The 3x's, they cancel out, right? So I can just draw an x there. So now I have 2 is equal to 2x, right? Because 5 minus 3x is 2x. And then I just bring down the minus 14. All right. So now that we have this equation, doesn't it look like the previous equations we solved? So pause this video and see if you can solve this by yourself. All right. So now what we can do, right? We can move this negative 14, right? All the way to the other side, right? So how are we going to do that? We're going to perform the opposite operation. So we're going to add 14, right? So if I do it to the right side, I must do it to the left. So whatever you do to the one side, you must do to the other. That's a very important concept. So I added 14 to the right side, so which they cancel out. And I also have to add 14 to the left side because that's the most important concept I taught you today in this video. So now we're just going to simplify. So we're going to bring down the equal sign, bring down the 2x, right? The negative 14 and positive 14 cancel out. And then 14 plus 2 is 16. Okay. Now 2x equals to 16. So what x times 2 equals to 16? What is the value of x? So remember, 2x is the same as saying 2 times x, right, is equal to 16. How are we going to take off the 2 and get x by itself? Perform the opposite operation. So instead of multiplying by 2, what do we have to do? Divide by 2. Okay, so in this case, the 2's cancel out. We're left with only our x. Okay, so we can bring down our x. And what's 16 divided by 2? The answer is 8. All right, everyone, now it's your turn to do this. So see if you can do this problem. Pause this video and let me know in the comments, all right? All right, so first what we're gonna do is we're gonna isolate x. We're gonna get x to the one side and all the other numbers to the other side, right? So how are we gonna do this? Let's move the 3x, right, to the left side. How are we gonna do that? We're gonna perform the opposite operation. So positive 3x, what's the opposite? So we subtract 3x, all right, on the right side. But whatever we do on one side, we must do to the other side. So we're gonna subtract 3x on the left side. All right, now let's start simplifying. 7x minus 3x is 4x. And then we just bring the plus 2 down, or positive 2. And then we set that equals to, the 3x cancels out. Positive 3x and negative 3x, they cancel out because we moved it to the left side. Now, we can bring down the 14, right? And this looks like the problems we did in the first part of the video. So, now, we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to move the 2 to the right side, all right? How are we going to do that? We're going to perform the opposite operation, subtract 2 from both sides, right? So that means the positive 2 and negative 2 cancel out. I can start simplifying. So I bring down the 4x, right? 4x equals 2. Now 14 minus 2, that's 12. Okay, so now we're at the easiest step, the final steps. 4x is equal to 4 times x, okay? So now what's the opposite operation of multiplying by 4? Dividing by 4, right? So now the 4's, they cancel out, right? And we're left with x. So we can bring the x down, bring the equal sign down. But remember, whatever we did to one side, we must do to the other. So what do we do out here? We divided by 4. So we're going to divide 12 by 4. And what is 12 divided by 4? Your answer is 3. So those are basically the essentials of solving equations with one variable, whether the variable is only on one side of the equation or whether you have it on both sides of the equation. Feel free to help us out by clicking the subscribe and the like button to spread the good word to other people. Also, we have free tutoring sessions on our website, so go ahead and check that out if you are interested. If you have any other video requests, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, because we'll be reading each and every one of the comments and we'll be making videos according to your guys' wants. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy solving!